Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to be looking at how to scan a list of targets. Now you might be sitting there asking yourself, what exactly do you mean? Well, let's take an example, right? Let's say you have a large number of systems or IP addresses that you want to scan. Alright, so you can enter all of these IP addresses in a list in a TXT file, and then you can input that into Nmap and perform the scan from there. So again, you might be asking yourself, well, why is this important? Well, take in, for instance, you have a certain amount, certain IP addresses that, let's say, for example, are running or are actually servers, and you want to be performing regular scans on them to make sure that everything is, in order, making sure that the ports are correctly configured, etc., etc. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do this right now. As we can see, I'm in my terminal. Now you can do this in any operating system that you choose to run. All I encourage you to do is to create the list in your working directory. In my case, I'm going to do that in my desktop. So I'm going to change my directory to the desktop. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new file here. All right, so I'm just going to minimize that. And again, you can use any text editor that you want. So I'm going to use LeafPad, which I have here. And in here I can specify the IP addresses. So it's really very simple to specify them. So let's say I specified 192.168.1.104, right? Whoops, 0.104. All right, 192.168.1.103, which is all these are devices that are currently on my network. So let's say I only wanted to scan those two IP addresses. So let me, I'm going to save this on my desktop. All right. So desktop as, I can just call it, targets.txt, right? So .txt, that's very, very important. And I'm going to save it there and just give it a few seconds. There we are. So there's the file. So we have actually created it. And let me close the LeafPad text editor. And now you might be asking, well, what do we do now? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and see if I can get the results to print out on the terminal. So targets.txt, and there we are. We can see that the IP addresses are there. So what I'm going to do is let me just clear the terminal and we can get started with our scan. So the syntax is really very simple. All right. Now, the list has to contain IP addresses, that should be scanned. And again, I give you an example. If you had special, computers that you're giving high priority to, this is a great way of doing it. All right. So, in this case, we're going to get started with our first command or parameter. All right. And the parameter is the IL parameter. All right. So let me show you how this works. So we started off with Nmap. All right. And now we use the parameter or the command IL. So we use the dash. Now all commands are going to follow this syntax. And then we use a lowercase I followed by a large L. All right. So let me just enlarge this. Let me clear and let's do that again. So Nmap, I and L. All right. So the IL parameter. And then we specify the name of the list, which in this case, we know it as targets. All right, targets.txt, and we give the extension and hit enter. All right, and it's going to start Nmap, as you can see. So it already knows what we're telling it to do. And given the parameter, the IL parameter is used to, it essentially tells Nmap to extract the targets from the list that we have specified. So it really is telling Nmap, hey, look here, I want you to take these results in this TXT file, and I want you to scan them with any other parameters that you have specified, which in this case, we know we haven't specified any, so it'll perform a basic scan nonetheless. And as you can see, it has returned, and these are the two Windows computers running on my network, and it has completed the scan. As you can see, note, 2 IP addresses scanned and 2 hosts were up, scanned in 17.98 seconds. And you can go ahead and analyze the results. But for now, the results are not that important because we're not really looking at that. We're just getting acquainted with Nmap. All right. So that is how to perform or how to scan a list of targets. All right. And that was pretty simple. And I hope you guys get the gist. So the IL command essentially allows you to specify to Nmap to get targets or IP addresses from a list that you have created, and you can also specify the location. All right, so that's going to be it for this lecture. I'll be seeing you in the next lecture.